Hello, everyone. Welcome to another review from Simply Nerdy. I'm your host, Steven. I'm joined today by Anthony.
Yo, everyone.
We are here to review Percy Jackson and the Olympians, the TV show on Disney+. Percy Jackson came out a long time ago as a movie. That's how I was first introduced to it, the 20th century movie. I watched it. I read the book, realized the book was a bajillion times better than the movie. And then ever since, I've been on this train of Percy Jackson needs a second chance as with an adaptation. When is it going to happen? And then Disney Plus announces it. Rick Riordan stamps his name on it. And I was like, okay, this could be good. Anthony, give me your thoughts.
Yeah, I thought so. I was going to throw out there, I didn't realize that you started with the movie. That's definitely a uphill from there kind of thing. Like in a
it is. I'm glad I started with the movie and not the book.
I thought it was really well done. Actually, I was really pleasantly surprised. I read the books. I enjoyed them decently well. Of the first 5 books, because he's got a bunch of different series or at least a follow-up series for Percy Jackson. But of the first 5 books, I think I probably enjoyed the 5th one the most.
Mm-hmm.
The rest, I felt, they were kind of, they were a bit younger than I guess I was used to, and it kind of showed through in some of the way they did the jokes and lightheartedness. It was still a fun story for me, but sometimes I felt like it was a little bit hard to take it fully seriously, and I think that's something that the TV series fixed for me. And I feel like I know I've heard some people who've expressed dissatisfaction that they made it feel more serious in tone. But for me, that was a huge plus. Because I do remember, despite enjoying the, kind of the fun, unique take on this idea of the Greek gods and, fun stories tied into that. Despite that, it just, I didn't really get a very good sense of the gravity from what I remember reading the books. The gravity of the situation. TV series, I felt like they did a really good job of selling that. There was a lot of dire moments mixed in with kind of, I felt like a very good, respectable amount of humor. I thought it was really fun that they still used the same episode titles were basically the same as the chapter titles in the book.
I loved that. Made me so happy.
It was a really fun throwback. And kind of still captured a fun degree of that whimsy that the books had.
Yep.
But so I didn't strip that from the soul of the story, but at the same time, I feel like it still turned up the urgency to a point where I felt like they were in a better balance.
I agree. I completely agree with that.
I had a lot of fun with it. I thought that I thought they did a really good job picking the characters.
Picking the cast
was I think a perfect pick.
Oh, absolutely. There's no question on that one.
Just throwing this out there, by the way, for those, if you're listening, Nintendo, on the off chance, all those people out there saying, the guy who played Percy should play Link in the live action. Yes, I think he would do great.
I think he'd be awesome.
Really good job. Anyway, that's an aside. I was pleasantly surprised. I didn't expect to like it nearly as much as I did.
I went in the same thing, actually. I was a little bit skeptical at first. I was hopeful but skeptical, as I like to say. But no, every episode won me over. An episode would end, and I was ready for the next one. And I did not want the show to end. I was loving every second of it. Humor, like you said, there were still some jokes that were, more for children than for adults, but there were still the dire moments were still dire, and it took itself seriously when it needed to, and that was great. It was a breath of fresh air, and I loved the cast. There was also just the supporting cast was fantastic too, like Ares. Sorry, I know you're a professional wrestler. I don't know your name, but he was a perfect cast too. I really liked him as Ares. He really got under my skin, and you could see why Percy made an enemy of him pretty quick.
I was just gonna interject there real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
That part of this, that part of the story, I had to comment to my wife because I thought it was just so silly when Ares, in a very almost like it was a dire threat. You've made an eternal enemy or something like that.
You made
it's
an
just
enemy
like
for life, kid.
I made an enemy. Okay, yeah, enemy for life. And I'm just like, okay, well, you were gonna kill me anyway, so I think I can live with this idea of you being an eternal enemy.
Yeah,
It was just a fun moment to me.
I love it.
I'll take that. I will definitely take that. Because it kind of sounds like that's how it was from the beginning. Either way, you were going to be my enemy for either a very short life or for a longer one. I'll take the latter.
Exactly.
Anyway.
Might as well take the latter, man. There's so much, I wish I could have read the book alongside this. But I did read a little bit of the book for the episode about the water. What was it called? The Waterland? Is that what that amusement park was called?
The tunnel ride they went on to get the shield.
Yeah. Okay, shield. To get Harry's shield. I did not remember Grover staying back as lateral. So I was like, I wonder if they changed it. And I kind of read that chapter after the episode was over, and it was different. But I was actually okay with the changes that were made there. It's very, very faithful to the book. It's not exactly what the book is, but I felt it was a much more faithful adaptation from book to TV show than the book to movie was by 20th Century Fox. So I was okay with the changes that they made. I'm going to go back and read the book again now that I've seen the whole show and see if I can draw out some differences, and maybe I'll make a video on it. We'll see. So stay tuned. But it was a lot of fun. I loved how faithful it was.
Yeah, no, I think I wanted to comment on that as well. I was pleasantly surprised because, like you said, there was definitely some things they changed. I think my wife was pointing out that there was a change in sequence, that the casino came earlier in the story in the book, something like that. So they definitely switched some sequences around and changed a few other things. But I was still kind of impressed. Walking away thinking, no, I definitely remember that from the book. And
yes,
I feel like they did a really solid job of, allowing for some creative interpretation, but at the same time, still very much keeping the soul of the story intact.
Agreed.
And that's something that, let's be honest, Hollywood does not have an especially good track record with that kind of delivery. And so I was pleased.
Not even video game to movie adaptations for that matter.
Well, I'd almost change that phrase a little bit. I feel like video game to movies, that those are more cursed than even book to movie.
That's fair. That's
historically speaking.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, going back to the cast, I especially loved Zeus, his voice. Man, the actor, I wish I could remember his name. It escapes me, but he plays Silence from Horizon. He plays, what's his face in Destiny 2? Yeah, plays Zavala in Destiny 2, and his voice is just so cool. So when I saw it was him, I knew we had a good voice for Zeus, man. He was great. But I'm so sad that there's gonna be a recasting because obviously he passed away. But man,
rest in peace.
What a good choice. I'm just sad we don't get to see him in the next one.
Yeah.
But no, the cast was great. It was even fun to see Lassiter. I don't know his name either. Okay, his name was Timothy, and he was cast as Hephaestus, and he did awesome. But yeah, what did you think of the supporting cast, Anthony, for Grover, Annabeth, the whole threesome?
Yeah, I really liked that as well. I thought they did a really good job of, once again, kind of keeping what I remember of the characters intact. Annabeth is kind of the, do things right or I'll beat you up kind of character.
Yeah, she did a really good job.
Yeah. And Grover, in some ways I felt like they actually kind of slightly adjusted his character from what I remember in the book. And I actually liked it because I feel like in the book he was a lot more like anxious or timid. I'm not sure how to put it. Maybe I'm not remembering correctly because it's been a long time since I've read it.
It's been a long time since I read the book too.
But I thought they did a fun job with him too. He was kind of a nice mix of, kind of some of that teenage angst feel from the book, but at the same time seemed like he had a little bit more competence to him.
I agree.
In the TV series.
Agreed.
So that was fun. And I think, I know we were talking about the supporting cast, but kind of going back to their representation of Percy, I feel like maybe that was my favorite change because, again, he was, again, this is, the books were written for young adults or maybe even younger. And it's, about, how old are they in the books? 12? Something like that. So, I guess it's appropriate for them to not be, super mature or anything like that. But I just remember sometimes in the book getting the sense that Percy solved problems by just giving the right amount of teenage sass. That's how he did it. Like just snap your fingers. Oh no, you didn't, and then it's fixed. And, everyone bows to the teenage angst.
Oh, Percy.
And
there's still that here too.
There's
still a little bit of that.
The part when he mails in Medusa's head, which actually that was part of the book too. I feel like I swear that
I don't remember that happening in the book. I think
that totally happened.
Okay, that's good to know because I was like, wait a minute, I don't remember that.
I could be remembering wrong, but it was very familiar. It seemed very deja vu to me.
Yes.
But yeah, there's definitely some of that going on, but it felt like less of a defining characteristic for him than it did in the book. In the book, it's like, well, I'm going to assert my will, and you're going to change yours to meet mine, and oh, look, it worked. Then that's an overgeneralization, but that is kind of sometimes the feel I got. But and it's when I felt like they mixed it in with a bit more competence, or maybe in some cases a recognition of a lack of competence. Like that was another thing that I feel like. And again, maybe I'm just blowing things out my ear, but I feel like I remember, a couple times when in the story, it's like, well, there's also kind of that teenage, like I'm always right, kind of.
Yes.
and so I also liked how, and you know what, I probably just need to go back and read the book to make sure I'm not, just making all this up. But I just felt like I really enjoyed how in the story, there was some moments when he said, I don't know how to do this, I'm just doing my best. And it just made him feel like a really fleshed out character.
Yes, made him seem more human too. Mm-hmm. Yes, he's a demigod, but he's, human like the rest of us, and make mistakes. And he made an enemy for life with Ares, and that was a really big mistake. I'm just kidding. I really like how they set up the future of the series too, because the movie did not do a good job of explaining Kronos soon enough. It had to play catch up a little bit in Sea of Monsters, the second movie. This one did a good job. It explained a little bit of the big prophecy about Percy, which I won't tell you because you probably, I don't know if you've read the books, audience, or whatnot. So it sets up the prophecy on Percy that will play into the rest of the whole show really well. It set up Kronos really well. There's a lot of mention of Kronos. Kronos was in almost every episode, I think. I think every episode had an episode where Percy was dreaming and Kronos was talking to him. Well, it really did a good job of explaining the gods and the system and how the relationships with the gods and their children and how the Elite Three were not allowed to have children, for many years, and how Percy is a forbidden child and so is Thalia. They mentioned Thalia in this show instead of waiting for season 2 like the movie did. The movie didn't even mention Thalia or Thalia's tree in the first movie. Or the barrier, didn't talk about the barrier either. Anyway, a lot of comparisons to the movie because that's the only other adaptation we have to go off of. But it did a really good job setting up everything, and I was so happy.
I hadn't thought about that. It almost tells you how little how little confidence they had in the movie, and rightly so.
Rick Riordan said he never even watched the movie.
Oh wow, that's when you know it's bad.
That's when you know. I don't know if the music was phenomenal. I enjoyed the music. The main theme gets stuck in my head. Good job. It had almost an Avengers theme to it.
Yeah, it kind of did. But the last thing I would put out there is I this is something really important to me for movie enjoyment or TV series in general is pacing. I thought they did a really good job of kind of keeping things moving as well. I feel like TV series in particular can really suffer from filler. And I felt like they did a really good job of avoiding that. So,
I agree.
It's easy for me to stay engaged. Basically, everyone who knows me knows I'm very picky about things like this. And so, this was, it was nice that this struck such a nice balance. I highly recommend getting onto Disney Plus and watching it. It's really good.
Same. So let's hear your rating, Anthony. What would you rate this thing?
I would give it a 9.
Really? A 9?
Yeah.
That's awesome. I'd give it an 8.
Oh. I expected you to go higher.
No. I'd give it an 8. It was a great adaptation. I was excited for every episode to be released. I was there for every episode, every day of release. There's just a few nitpicks that I have with the show that took it down to an 8.
Gotcha.
I don't need to get into them here because they're really small, but they were enough to bug me just a little bit.
Yeah.
But that's why I give it an 8. But man, I cannot wait for more Percy Jackson. Get more content on their Disney Plus, and then I'll subscribe again and I'll watch.
Yeah. It's a good one. So, listeners, you should tell us what you thought if you watched the series. If you thought it was a good adaptation, or if you're like me and you thought it was better, which is, pretty rare for books to that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's the biggest compliment you can give it right there.
I think so.
Love it.
Especially knowing how picky I am.
Yes, exactly. Well, let us know down in the comments below, and if you like this review or video content, please consider subscribing, liking the review, and then, again, what Anthony said, drop us a comment down below. Let us know what you thought. And until next time, guys, keep it nerdy.